Hey, you should come in this pit right here. You should go in there. Yeah, jump down, you little dumb idiot. Update 1's out. Yippee! Woo! Rogue Core just got update 1 here on June 17th. There's quite a few changes to go through, and I wanted to share my thoughts. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff here to talk about. Most of the focus has gone into two things, some timer overhaul stuff, and as well as some negotiation upgrade overhaul stuff. That second one is the majority of the changes, I would say. We'll go through the timer first. There was some visual changes to kind of give it a little more information for the player. Kind of looks like a Monopoly board or like a digital watch face kind of vibe now. It's got these little segments. It also has this yellow section at the end that tells you, you're getting near the end of the time. There's going to be Reaper worms showing up soon, so you should probably get out. I think personally, I already knew that the last fourth of the timer meant you should get out, so it doesn't really matter too much to me, but for new players, that's pretty useful to know. They also have that countdown. You can enable or disable a numerical countdown if you want that. Assault pace is the bigger change for the timer. This is another difficulty setting that you'll see in the mission map, and they have added 2 new options besides the scale that we're used to. So the scale that we're used to is still there, but you can either make it a little slower timer or a little faster. The slower one's called cautious, and then the fast one's reckless. This is a pretty good way to introduce this, kind of adding stuff for both ends of the spectrum of player desire of the timer. I've done maybe a dozen reckless runs so far, and it's been pretty fun. You get XP changes with it, so cautious gives a little bit less XP, and reckless gives a little bit more. Next is the things surrounding the Expedite upgrades. Firstly, you need to press a button on Ellis now when there's an upgrade available. Anyone can press it to initiate an upgrade, and you don't need to have the whole team around Ellis anymore. This will do some sort of wireless link magic, and it'll pop up a little loading bar, and then the negotiation will happen. Good change. I'd like to see a little more like art and feedback to make it feel a little cooler and feel like there's some sort of wireless connection happening there. But that's for later. This is where I think they did the best improvement. Negotiation upgrades. Once you pause the game and the upgrades pop up, there's a ton of changes here. So I'm going to try to go through them here. Upgrades in a draft are all the same rarity. So you know how Epic Gem was like all rares, like all the purples? It's like that now. So there's all commons if it's a common, there's all uncommons if they're all going to be the same rarity. When an upgrade is taken now, it's replaced by a new option, which is really interesting. So when you pull one out, it draws another under it. So everyone gets the same amount of choices is essentially the idea. With that in mind, the skip for health option that's always there has been removed, and now health upgrades are just available in the general Expedite pool. And they still do the same thing where they increase your health and then bring it up to max. There are a ton of new common and uncommon Expedite upgrades. There's more reworks in there as well. Some have just been replaced and stuff. It's a pretty huge balance change. I would say the game is feeling a little easier right now. Everyone's getting a legendary from a legendary draft. In general, I would say commons and uncommons are just a little beefier now too. Basically, my thoughts on this, I think this is the best rework of the update. I really like this. I think it just made the negotiations more fun across the board. Drafts being the same rarity effectively makes choices more interesting to make, right? Because if you're deciding between a legendary and a common, there are probably times where the common might be better, but generally you're probably just going to pick the legendary, right? The decisions are more fun to make more often in this system, I think. It's cool to always have the same amount of choices, even if you're not, even if you're last, right? Drawing a new one makes it a little more fun, I think. Being left with 2 choices or whatever feels kind of crappy, I guess. So fair enough. I think that's a great change. More engaging things show up in the negotiations across the board, I'd say. A lot of the new ones, a lot of the reworks are pretty solid, so I like that. Skip for health was cool in some ways. There are some things about having that always be there that I'll miss, like storing it for a team full heal if you're all really low and you're mid-fight. You can kind of save your ass by just using an Expedite upgrade to full heal. In the end, this is a way better system, and it's worth getting rid of that and the issues it caused for what we have now. I'll let you kind of discover the Expedite upgrades yourself. I haven't even really seen all of them yet. I've seen most of them, and I feel pretty good about it. I really like the ionization one. It's like a blue. That one's really good for, in general, just radiation's a really good effect for bringing more power to AoE on single targets. It's cool stuff. I think moving in a good direction. All right, I'd say the coolest thing for new content is the new weapons. One of them is returning from Deep Rock, and one of them is brand spanking new. The new one is the Trident Energy Shotgun. This fires a 3-shot blast in a sort of triangular shape. Those projectiles kind of spread out as they fly further. The main, like the primary fire mode is really fun. The charge shot is like a barrage of almost like a really inaccurate minigun of energy projectiles. And it's okay. It's a little iffy, but one thing I think is really interesting about the gun is you can aim for weak points by aligning the crosshair with one of like the corners on the crosshair. Like if you're trying to aim for an edge stalker, you can kind of change how you're aiming a little bit to do that. And I don't know, it's interesting to not have to aim exactly in a crosshair's center. It's a little ammo hungry. I wouldn't say it's too bad. I also wish that there was a unique weapon upgrade for it. Maybe it could alter the charge fire in some way, or like make them homing projectiles on the charge fire or something. I don't know. Either way, I think it's pretty cool. Really happy to finally see it. I've known about it for ages. I dug it out of the game months and months and months ago. I like the name Trident. It's very cool. The returning weapon from Deep Rock is a new heavy weapon, and it's the corrosive sludge pump. When you pick the sludge pump, it's good to keep in mind that it is a little bit more of a utility from my experience. I've done a few runs with it. It's very good at like slowing crowds down and doing damage over time in like defensive situations. I like to think of it kind of similar to the Cadna field projector, where it is debatably on that line between a weapon and utility. I still really enjoyed my time with it. There's some cool upgrades, like decreasing the charge shot cost, I think is a really cool upgrade option in workbenches. Again, I do wish there was another unique option. I wish every weapon just had a unique upgrade. I'm not sure what the plan is, like if you're going to be able to customize weapon upgrades at all, and maybe they'll add those in a later update in that way. But yeah, I think the sludge pump is a pretty cool option here. It's just very different in this context because of how the enemies move and stuff. There's one new guy, one new enemy, one new evil floating man, the Voidkin Drifter. These guys are sort of magical specters of sorts. They fly around and kind of every once in a while conjure a little projectile to shoot at you. I think the main thing about this enemy is they're kind of distracting. They just drift around in a very interesting way that like kind of catches your eye. They do come in groups typically, like usually 2 to 3 together at a time. It feels more akin to like season 5 era of like Rogue Core art, which has me interested to see if that's going to kind of return in some way, if there's going to be more Voidkin style enemies added later. I don't know. There's 3 new risk vectors. I love this. This is where my brain gets happy. This is where serotonin and dopamine release out of my brain folds and I feel really good. There's one negative one, which is Drifter Surge. So, you know, just kind of like Scorcher Horde and stuff like that, but for the Voidkin Drifters. And then there's 2 new positive effects. There's one that adds a second bio booster to the next level, and there's one that adds a second workbench to the next level. Now, I think both of these are pretty powerful. It depends on your bio boosters a little bit. I'd say workbenches might be a little more consistent unless you're looking good already on your weapons and you're not really looking for ability upgrades. I don't know. I think the workbench is generally maybe a safer pick than the bio booster, but it depends. There's some new facility generation thrown in the mix, some maze-like tunnel sort of things. There's this bridge one that I really liked. Kind of reminded me of like a railroad bridge, but it had like mine carts near it. There's this one where a drop pod is like stuck in a core stone generation sort of thing. I thought that was kind of neat. And I really like this quarry one where it's this big quarry that you like walk down the scaffolding to like descend into it, and that felt pretty cool. Just a lot of different scale involved in these new constructions, kind of messing with, it feels like they're kind of testing the waters on where they can and can't go and what feels right and what feels wrong for the game. And I think that's pretty cool. There's a lot of like vehicles scattered throughout these new ones, which I like. Just in general, a lot more world building-esque stuff going on. And I like that. I think telling stories in environments is a really neat aspect that I didn't really think about when I first imagined like facility generation in this. And I'd really like to see them continue further in that direction of like kind of leaving like little props that tell a story. There's quite a few weapon balance changes. In general, all starting weapons now are common and come with 2 attributes. Workbenches now have a chance of offering higher rarity weapons and also traversal tools now. On the balance side, I'm not going to go through everything, but the Boomstick, Decker SMG, PGL, M1000, and the Warthog all got some changes and are feeling a lot better. Another huge change that's one of my favorite parts of this update is the addition of boss biomes. Right now, Ramuk has a new biome that's like its deep core biome. So as you get halfway through the run, you'll enter the deep core and it'll be themed around the boss is the idea. This has a bunch of cool stuff with it. The new biome is, the terrain references like nether rock and stuff, so I don't know, I guess I'll call it the nether deep core area. I don't know. It's this orangish sort of craggy, kind of warm magma core, but like kind of freaky with it. And yeah, I really like the vibe. The rooms get pretty big. I also think that there's potential for cave shapes to sort of benefit a fight in that way. I feel like the Ramuk has a lot of pillars around it in this biome, which is really handy for a lot of his attacks. It's good to have something in between you and, you know, when it's spinning, it shoots those rocks out, or when it charges at you, you can use cave shapes to kind of block it. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool and allows for a little bit more biome synergizing with the fight better. I'm particularly excited to see the future Molek Tula biome. I feel like there's potential for cave shapes to impact that fight pretty significantly. Since he does that low gravity section when you're getting the core stone pieces, I feel like it'd be cool to see some complex cave shapes and boss arenas that ask the player to navigate in a more fun way for that specific section of the fight. That's pretty much everything. There's a little bit of ramrod changes that I'll run through in a video after this. Hey guys, welcome to my tour of the Ramrod in Update 1. This is not the finished version yet. This is still on experimental, but still I'll show off some of the new stuff. We got Mopsy, looking fancy. Got a little tree, little energy drink holder, little bucket. Wow. I swapped these around. They updated the Ascension Hall a little bit. This little grav thing is looking pretty nice. We got a door changed colors a bit, I think. I don't know. And this has a little more detail now. Cinema. I think there's a new room over here. Still work in progress, but it's coming along. Some sort of ladder up here. Wow. Very nice. I think that's everything though. Like there might be some small stuff, but that's like everything I've noticed so far. So yeah, thank you for watching my my MTV Cribs. Yeah. Bye. There's some new jukebox tracks as well, which is fun. They also made it so enhancements stack in the loadout terminal, thank God. So that's good. There's an auto sprint toggle now, so go into the options, go to controls, scroll down and turn on auto sprint and probably feel better than you ever have in your life. That's update 1. I'd say it's a pretty solid update. I think it addresses a lot of the problems that people had in a really cool way that benefits the game. A lot of these things that people, there was this sort of narrative that Ghost Ship wasn't listening to feedback throughout closed alpha, and I just think that's not a very great representation of what was going on from my experience. There's specific areas of the game that did not change very much, I would say, like compared to other ones. I'd say that's just just how the nonlinear nature of game development is. You know, it's not, certain things get focused on more than others at certain points in time, and it's very dependent on like your colleagues' progress on things and certain blocks in that pipeline of making a game. You know, there's a lot that goes on with making this stuff, right? And it's complex. So I disagree with the narrative that Ghost Ship didn't listen to feedback throughout closed alpha. I can attest to them literally listening to me throughout closed alpha. And I know, you know, I'm a creator or whatever, but like I've literally seen them interact with people and listen to feedback, you know? So I don't know. I disagree with that narrative. I think it's a little goofy. I'm going to go shit my pants, I guess. I don't know. Why not? Have a good day. Rock and Stone. I'll see you soon.